Okay, now that you've installed your Genesis theme and the Prose Child theme, you want to go into configure your theme settings first. So once you've logged into your WordPress admin section, again, go to the Genesis menu item here, and then we'll just start going by each menu item here for the settings. So the first thing we'll do is the theme settings. Okay, so you can see here the information for the whichever version that you have, and usually you can leave the default here, the enable automatic update, so it'll automatically let you know when there's a new version available, and then all you do is just click update and it'll update for you very quickly and easily. Next is the custom feeds section. So usually here I like to use FeedBurner, which is actually owned by Google, and what it does is it helps you keep track of your blog and RSS feeds. It's quite a useful tool, so usually I would sign up for that. It's free, and then you just enter your FeedBurner URL here, and then just leave it here as redirect feed. Default layout. This is where you can set the default layout for your website. The beauty of the Genesis theme and a lot of their child themes is that you can change the layout for each of your different pages and posts. So even though you set the default here, you can always change it to a custom layout for each page. If you have something, say if you want to create a landing page, you don't want any sidebars, then you can choose this layout on an individual page or post. But usually for the default layout, I like to leave it as this one here, the 2 columns layout. Okay, under the navigation settings, your primary navigation, you do want to check this. Usually I think it's checked by default. So include the primary navigation menu. We'll talk about menus in the next tutorial. And then usually, I think most people will probably want this as well. You can enable the fancy Dropdowns function. What this happens is if you have any sub-menus under a main section, it'll have those really nice JavaScript drop-down menus. So you don't need to know any sort of technical code to enable that. Next, usually I don't usually have a secondary navigation, but you can, depending on your preference, you can choose to enable this or not. Breadcrumbs, this is also useful in some cases, but in this case we don't have it enabled. This is basically where you see the path for a certain page. So say if you land on your About page, it'll show you that you're on the About page, and then the next level up would be your home page, something like that. So you can choose where you want breadcrumbs to show up. And comments and trackbacks, again, this is also a feature you can choose whether you want to enable or not. In most cases you probably don't want to enable it on your pages, but if you have blog posts and you want to encourage discussions, then you probably want to have this checked. And trackbacks is basically where if other websites link to a particular page or post on your website, it will show up on your particular page or post. For this though, you have to be careful though, because there can be a lot of spam on this particular feature. So in this particular situation, I've not enabled this. Again, these are all default settings. Say for the content archives, you can usually leave this as it is. I usually do. There's not really much reason to change it. Same with the blog page. No need to really change the default setting here. Now under this part, the header and footer scripts, we'll probably talk a little bit about this a bit later. And this is where you probably enter the tracking script. So usually what we use is Google Analytics. And it's free, so you can track all your website analytics. So show you your visitor stats and everything like that. We'll get into that a little bit more detail in another tutorial, but this is where you would enter that code. And here it also allows you for any scripts that needs to be put in the footer section. Again, in most cases, any sort of application that requires you to put it in a header or footer section of your website, it'll tell you whether to put it in the header or footer. So then this just makes it easier for you, so you don't need to look through the entire code for WordPress to figure out where to put it. This pretty much tells you where it is. Okay, and then once you've finished everything, you just click on Save Settings. Okay. Okay, next we will look at the SEO settings. Okay, in most cases, again, I think a lot of their default settings is actually pretty good. So, but I'll just go through them here. This section here is append the site description to the doc title on home page, and it pretty much describes it here. So usually I leave that checked. Usually I'll probably also append the site name to the doc title on inner pages as well. And then you want to have this to the right of the title, the certain page title. Homepage settings. Again, you can probably leave all of these default. I usually don't change any of these in most cases. It can get a little bit more technical here. I think for a beginner, then you can just leave all the default settings here and you're fine. And then you just save settings if you've changed anything here, which we have. Okay, next is the design settings. Now this particular setting is a specific setting that's available in the Prose Child Theme. So if you have a different child theme for Genesis installed, you may not have this feature available. But this is why we use the Prose setting for most of our websites. Because this, you can see here, these are basically all your design elements for your website. And you don't need to know any coding for it. And you can just start changing the different colors of your fonts, your font style, the size of the fonts, the line height. And it can all be done here with just a click of a button. Links, the color of your links. Once you click here, you can see you don't even need to know the hex code. You can just choose a particular code and it'll give you the particular hex code, and then you just choose that. Okay, and here the header area. This is you can control the height of your header and the width, background color. This is also where you can control the font style and the colors of your navigation menu, which we'll look up in another tutorial. But this is where you control the font style and the background colors, what colors it will look like when you hover over your menu items, etc. Okay, and as you go through all of these, so you can basically go through all of these settings on your own. It's pretty self-explanatory. That's pretty easy to configure. And then once you're all done, remember to save your settings. Okay, now there's a section here called custom code. Now this part is where it gets a little bit more technical. In most cases, you probably don't want to do anything here unless if you really know what you're doing. We can probably help you out with that if you need this. But for this particular section in custom functions, this might be of interest. Sometimes if you want to change what's displayed on the footer and how the menu navigation menu is displayed, its position, then this is where it's done. Again, this is a little bit more technical, but again, we can probably help you out with that if you need that. And that's pretty much it for the general settings for your Genesis and Prose theme.